Yeah. Hey, welcome. Obviously, this is Chuck Mondell again, and welcome to the old YouTube channel. Straight out of Phoenix Wrestling. Listen, I've been watching a lot of wrestling, a lot of international wrestling, and around the world, the universal maneuver to try to fight for nowadays is an underhook. The best wrestlers, the Iranians, the Russians, all those guys, they're all fighting for underhook and wrestling off of underhook. Because that's the only way you're gonna, one of the few ways they score at that level is off of an underhook business. I've been crying about the underhook for 3 or 4 years now. And if we find ourselves in, if somebody lets us in on an underhook, we need to take advantage of it. For one thing, he's got nothing on that side to protect him. You're underneath his only protection, and you're already behind it or underneath it, or both. So, and I see the Russians, I see the Iranians and the Russians fighting hard for that underhook, just slamming like a punch to try to get to that underhook. But I see a lot of that, especially out of the Iranians. Danachiriri, 2 or 3 of those other kids, it's all about the underhook. Okay? And one of the things they do is they just punch it. And I thought it would be nice if at the same time we're punching an underhook, we'll go ahead and touch one off, see? Because obviously we're going to be underneath that arm if we punch hard to an underhook. But a lot of people, especially at the lower levels, they don't understand that to be on an overhook is bad. I do not want straight out of Phoenix kids hanging out on overhooks. If you have a carry or if you have an arm thing that you like, I don't have a problem with that. But just understand that the good ones are going to attempt to take you down if you let them hang out on an underhook and you on an overhook. It's dangerous against the best people. And that's what we're talking about here. Training to beat the best people. Like I said, I've been watching a lot of international wrestling. A lot of the communist kids. And the important thing is that we put all our energy into this underhook to get it in the first place. Okay? So anytime we're on an underhook, I'm going to be expecting us to pull the trigger on some sort of inside penetration with an inside step. We still have to do things right. Okay, we're going over the importance of an underhook. Plus it keeps him from doing anything with that arm that he's basically overhooked. He can't do anything with it if we're aggressively working that underhook. Okay? Now, the part about the underhook, you got him clamped. Oh, I know these guys. I've met these guys before. I met you guys before. But so we fight for that underhook. Okay? And if nothing else, we just drop down on a single, if nothing else. Because again, he's got nothing on that side to protect him. Okay, I want to go over how tight these underhooks can be. Okay, there's all kinds of looseness for underhook. From a loose underhook to a tight, tough underhook. And everywhere in between. Just depending on what you need, what you feel you need to do to be able to score on this guy with an underhook. Okay? So it's not only trapped, it's trapped all the way along. At my elbow, at my wrist, and my fingers. And my forearm. I use that whole thing to go to that underhook and to stay on that underhook. Okay? So, the deal is sometimes we're on an underhook and we're too tight. See, there's no room for our head to go through. So we have to make room for our head. So if that underhook is too tight, then the guy's too close to us. And there's no room for our head. So that's a tight underhook, where our head kind of gets caught. Because we know where our head's going right behind the armpit on our penetration. But keep in mind that it's not only clamped to my chest, it's clamped at the elbow and clamped at the wrist. And clamped at the shoulder probably too. It's just, you gotta be as tough as you can be on the under. Okay? So remember, if it's a tight one, we may have to move our feet. Step back a little bit and make room. See, keep the head and everything right where it is and just move your feet to create the room that you need. Because if your underhook is too tight, and I'm not real keen, unless we just want to hold the guy down, I'm not real keen on holding the guy down with that headlock. Anyway, remember, it's tight at the armpit, it's tight at the elbow, and it's tight at the wrist, and the fingers are wrapped, and it's mostly between your forearm and your body. That's where it has to be as tough as it can be, all the way around, toughness-wise. Grab it and deal with it as hard as you can. Okay, and that will usually end up with a tight kind of a underhook. Okay, and then if it's too tight, if our head's not where it needs to be, then we have to move our feet to make a little space so we can continue our attack. Because what eventually we're doing is attacking high outside. High crotch, high outside, whatever you want to call it. That's what we're doing. Okay? And we're using the underhook as a setup. Okay? We talked about a tight headlock. Now there are varying degrees of tightness also. From a real tight headlock to a real loose headlock. Okay? A loose headlock, tight, how you doing? You know, it's tight, but yet loose. You know, because if we're all bound up, we're not going to score on him. If our head's all bound up and he's all bound up, we're not going to go underneath him, chances are. All right? I said we go high outside every time we attack somebody, unless we go outside single. Everything else is inside out. That's inside single. Finish with a back step. Okay? That's one offensive program from there. Okay? Our number one option off of a, okay, if we come across and we're loose on a headlock, we could still score. In fact, we could score better from there than we can if we're all bound up. Like I said, if we're all bound up, we're not going to score. So we gotta, if we need to loosen up that headlock and get that, okay, loosen up the headlock. That means kind of let him go on purpose, kind of. So, and then remember, anytime anybody's pulling out of of an overhook, or if they're pulling out of an underhook, we stay right in their face. We do not step back and look at them. We talked about this before. Whenever we're in that prime time position, we got to see about scoring. We got to see about attacking. Okay? So with a loose headlock, we could do whatever we want. We could start a headlock. We could use it as a setup for our penetration, for our high outside. Okay? But remember that underhook needs to be part of your body. Okay? The underhook needs to be part of your body. That's a tight underhook. And then a loose one is when we're just barely behind the arm, barely behind the armpit there. See, that's still an underhook. It's a loose one, but it's still an underhook. Okay? So, I think that off of our penetration, I think our number one finish needs to be backstepping. I see so much backstepping. That's the only, if you have a single, that's the only way you're going to score on them, is by snapping them, jolting them to their rear end, dragging the pipe, or whatever you guys call it. But that's our main finish, because we're going to be in on singles more. We're going to be on more singles, and we're going to be asked to finish them with a backstep. Okay? That's a little further than I wanted to go for right now. Okay? But, okay. Now, let's talk about things to do off an underhook. And we'll put them in order. Okay? Off an underhook, that high inside single is our number one option, with backstepping, dragging the pipe as our number one finish. Okay? Our number one tie is probably that inside bicep tie. And we got to go on that one just about every time. At least check it and see if good clean penetration is available. Okay? So, remember, this is not a time for us to step back and look at the guy and rub our brows and go, woo, that was a close call. Okay? We don't want that. I want you to stay right in there. Whether you've hip heisted out, but we're never going to be any closer than we are right then and there. All right? So, our number one option is snap and spin, where we simply snap him as hard as we can. We let gravity take over. We let go halfway down, and we start our spin. When he starts his falling down, we start our spinning. So we don't put a good snap on somebody and then step back and look at him. Remember that. That's important. That'll create a lot of prime time. Okay? Our number one option is we beat him so bad that we snap him right to his nose, and then we start our spin. Half the way down, we start our spin. That's our number one option. And it's just natural that we do it that way. All right? And it's called simply snap and spin. And you do exactly what you say you do. You snap them and you spin. You spin behind them for points. Anytime anybody's on their knees in front of you, we need to check them and see. So, snap and spin. Okay, again, this is growing out of the underhook business. We're on any kind of tight or loose headlock. We snap them with the intention of snapping them hard to so that they have weight forward, either on their nose, their forehead, or their forearms or hands or something. And then when they're going down with all their weight flowing forward, that's when we hit our quick as a cat spin. Okay? You don't wait. Listen, on this snap, you do not wait until they're down on the ground and then think about scoring. About half of the way down, once you put a good snap on them, let gravity take over and start your spin and see what we can get. We may not get all the way around, but that's okay. We got to take advantage of people when they're on their knees in front of us. Any sister? Okay? So snap and spin, our number one option. See? Again, you see a lot of that at the next level too, at the international level. Okay? So snap and spin. Okay? We get whatever we get. We snap him as well and as tough and as hard as we can, and we spin ourselves as quick and as strong as we can. Because we're going to have to come down on the other end at some time. Our feet are going to have to come to the mat, and we better be ready to wrestle. So, all right, underhooks. Okay, we thought about snapping. We tried to snap and spin, and he stopped us. Okay, we're simply working to the underhooks again. Immediately go to the underhooks.
Call from SO Orthopedics.
I don't know how to do, I'll just do this.